We are at 7 o'clock, or after 7 o'clock, so this is the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting for June 23, 2026. Mr. Chair, if you want to read the public notice.
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on Municipal Bulletin Board and Municipal website. All notices are filed with the Board Secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this Board. And this meeting is being recorded by APTV, and I ask everyone with a cell phone to please mute it for the duration of this meeting. Roll call, please, Mr. Beekman.
Wendy Glassman.
Present.
John Hall. Absent. Daniel Harris is absent. Natalie Passerini.
Here.
Jill Potter is absent. Carrie Dim.
Here.
Vice Chair Scully.
Here.
And Chairman Christopher Avalone.
Here.
Okay.
All right. So, first up is 1307 Pine Street. Ms. Levsevic, is that correct?
So while the members are coming up for their application, I did review the notice. The board does have jurisdiction to hear this application, assuming that the variances that are identified are the same ones that they're asking this evening.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Edinger.
Yes, good evening. Paul Edinger appearing on behalf of the applicants. The property is, as indicated, 1307 Pine Street in Asbury. It's block 2303, lot 15. It's located in an R1 single-family zone. The existing structure is a two-family house. The applicants intend to rectify that to bring it into conformity as a single-family house. The plans call for 3 different variances. The unusual aspect of the lot, which is probably not terribly unusual, but it's a conforming area, but it is a long, thin lot, and because of the unusual size, there's a need for variance for the side yard and the front setback. There is as indicated, there's an existing structure on the property, and the applicant intends to expand that. Tonight we have our engineer, Joseph Kashuga. He's going to be providing engineering testimony and planning testimony. And we have our architect, Adam Aslin, who's going to be here to tell you what the plan is for the building. We have the applicants here tonight to answer any questions that you may have for them. Hopefully we're going to be able to provide you with enough information from the professionals in order to show that you're willing to comply and to provide you with a good plan. So the first witness would be Joseph Kashuba.
All right. Mr. Kashuba, before you sit, if you just want to keep your hand raised, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And I'll swear in our board professionals as well. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you may provide that this application this evening will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Kashuba, could you please give us the honor of your current credentials?
Certainly. I have a bachelor's and master's degree from Rowan University in civil and structural engineering, licensed engineer since 2005, licensed planner since 2007, have testified before numerous boards, and primarily the Monmouth and Ocean County areas, including this one, but it's been many years since I've been here.
I can say I've seen Mr. Kashuba at a number of meetings throughout Monmouth County.
I understand. Thank you for your credentials.
Thank you.
Could you please proceed?
Absolutely. So the site in question is 5,475 square feet. It's situated on the west side of Pine Street between 5th and Sunset Avenues. It is a rectangular lot. It's narrow at 36.5 feet, where 50 feet is required, and it's 150 feet in depth in the R1 zone. East of the property is the Pine Street frontage, directly facing single-family detached residential dwellings across the street. To the north is residential lots. Lot 14 specifically, immediately to our north, features a rather large front yard. There's residential rear yards to our west, and to the south is lot 16, which is another residential property that faces towards the south. Our side yard abuts their rear yard. The neighborhood character is single-family residential, varying lot sizes. This is developed with an older one-story multifamily dwelling. It's been there since the 50s. It has a rear patio, and it's a non-conforming use in that it's a two-family, pre-existing two-family use. It's also identified on tax records as a two-family structure. As indicated, the lot is narrow and non-conforming, creating some of the non-conforming features here. Specifically, the building is non-conforming for side yard setback at 4.3 feet existing, where 6 feet is required. In addition, the combined side yard setback is 12.5 feet, where 14 feet is required. So those are conditions that are functions of the narrow lot, being 37.5 feet wide, and the pre-existing structure. A concrete walkway runs from the house to the sidewalk, as well as a secondary walkway up the side. So there's two walkways providing access to the two residential structures. There's also identification of a shed on the property that encroaches. That's in the back right portion of this site. There's no parking on this site today. There's no driveway. And because of the narrow nature of the lot, as well as the home taking up the majority of the width, there's no opportunity to create a driveway on the property. What the applicant is proposing to do, first and foremost, eliminate the non-conforming use. So eliminate the two-family structure and revert this back to a single-family residential.
Is it currently being used as a two-family?
It is. In fact, the owners have identified to me, and certainly they can provide the testimony, that it had two tenants when they bought it. So we're proposing a 2.5-story addition. So it's a one-story structure now, proposing to construct a 2.5-story, which will be fully conforming with the building height, looking to match that existing 4.3-foot side yard setback and 12.5-foot combined side yard setback, essentially providing an addition immediately above the existing footprint of the home. We're also proposing to construct a porch forward of that, where currently there's a small stoop, so certainly more appropriate for the neighborhood, aesthetically pleasing, better architecture for the area. Lastly, proposing to install an in-ground swimming pool with a paver surround, an aluminum pool compliant fence, and a storage shed with an outdoor shower. The variances here are for the three items, specifically the lot width, which is pre-existing. All the properties that surround this are developed. There is no vacant land surrounding this to rectify that situation. The lot side yard setback at 4.3 feet, which is being exacerbated simply by going up over the existing wall, the existing southern wall of the property. And lastly, the combined side yard setback. As far as the improvements to the site, we are proposing some minor drainage improvements. This does not trigger your major or minor stormwater requirements. It's a very minor, the impervious increase here is very minor. But we are proposing some perforated drainage pipe and drainage improvements here to try and effectuate some better drainage on the property. We're also provided, as a result of the application, a pretty substantial landscape plan, which identified 48 arborvitaes for natural screening in the backyard, some hydrangeas, boxwoods, and a maple tree in the front yard. So a landscape plan was provided with the application. The applicant will certainly replace any existing curb and sidewalk that's in poor condition. And they have reached out to the neighbor about relocating their shed back onto their property. They have not made connection, but they're making that stipulation that they're connecting with the neighbor to make sure their shed's on their property. As far as the variances here, I think the variances can be granted under both the C1 and the C2 criteria. The C1 specifically, there is a hardship here, given that the lot is narrow in its pre-existing condition, not created by this homeowner. In addition, it has a legally existing non-conforming home with a 4.23-foot setback on on that southerly side, or 4.3 foot, I'm sorry. Therefore, I think it's certainly a hardship of the property, and compliance with the required setback of 6 feet, specifically for the second floor addition, would create a peculiar and extraordinary situation. We would have to set the wall in from the outside wall of the first floor, which creates structural concerns. In addition, just from a good planning perspective, it would look out of place. It would look like an addition. The intent here is to provide a harmonious home that is, commensurate with the neighborhood, and having that sort of step in just looks out of place. It's not architecturally pleasing, and we're talking about a difference here of about 29 inches. In addition, we're not talking about a situation where we have side yard against side yard. We don't have two homes that are immediately next to each other where that 29-inch difference might appear substantial. This particular property, this property and the property to the south, this is their rear yard. It's a double lot to our south. It's a rather large lot, and their home is much further to the south. It backs up, our side backs up to their rear in a rather large rear yard. So there's no impact to air, light, and open space by having a second floor that's a little bit closer to the property line, about 29 inches. I think it's certainly more
You're within
appropriate.
the same footprint again.
And in the same footprint, exactly. So no new shadow lines.
And what's the height of the building going to be?
It's going to comply. The height will be, it'll comply with the 30 foot. The architect's here, he can give the exact height.
Okay.
The off-street parking is not, we're not providing any additional off-street parking, but the benefit here is it's going from a two-family to a one-family, so our parking demand is reduced. So in essence, we are improving parking because we need less parking with a one-family home than we do with a two-family home.
Where will you be directing the water from the actual gutters and downspouts?
That all gets directed to an underground pipe that discharges at the front of the property towards the street. And the most important and paramount concern here, promotion of the general welfare, we're eliminating a non-conforming use. Certainly bringing a property more into conformity with the zone is a purpose of zoning and provides certainly the positive criteria here. I do not believe there's a substantial detriment to the public good as a result of this application. Again, that 29-inch setback, I do not believe has any substantial detriment on the neighbor, given it's their rear yard. I also don't believe it impacts the neighborhood. I think that what we're proposing is certainly appropriate. We are 27.1% building coverage and 45.4% impervious coverage, where 30 and 65 are permitted, so we're certainly not overdeveloping the property. In addition, I don't believe there's any impairment of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. In fact, I think this is the appropriate application where we're bringing it more into compliance with your master plan and zone plan. So for all those reasons, I think the variances being requested can be granted by the board.
So, Mr. Kashuba, there are going to be some accessory improvements also.
Correct.
On the lot. And you might have run through those, but if you could, please, because I didn't hear.
Certainly. So as I indicated, we are installing an in-ground swimming pool with a paver surround, a 4-foot-high aluminum pool compliant fence, a 1-story storage shed with an outdoor shower, and a 6-foot-high privacy fence enclosure around the equipment, so the AC and the pool equipment. None of that requires any relief, standard amenities for a single-family home.
Where are you locating the HVAC equipment?
They're in the rear next to the shed and enclosed via a fence.
Now, there was a comment in one of the review letters in regard to the availability of property to purchase from adjacent homeowners. You've had a chance to review the site and the general layout of the neighborhood. Is that possible?
It is not. So the property immediately to the north does look like a vacant property. It's rather unique. The home sits all the way it's 150 feet deep, and the home sits about a foot off of the rear property line. So it is a single family home. It is developed. It's just that house is really far back from the road.
Can I just ask for clarity? You say that the property is occupied, but page 2 of the application says that it's currently vacant?
So I believe the applicants told me when they purchased it, it had tenants. The tenants are no longer there, but when they purchased it, when they first purchased this and started this process, there were tenants. Today, there's no tenants.
Any further questions for Mr. Kashuba?
And thank you. No one ever gets my name wrong.
I have a couple. Can you clarify, and I don't know if it's not you, if it's the architect, the HVAC equipment that's proposed in the rear yard, is that for the shed or for the house?
I believe that is for the house.
If it's not you, it's fine. We can wait till the architect's.
Yeah. So the architect can clarify.
Okay. You mentioned the neighbor's encroaching structure. Okay, good. That's going to be the architect. That's going to be the architect. Okay. And I will just clarify, at the beginning of Mr. Kashuba's testimony, he mentioned 3 variances. One is for front yard setback. You actually
Correct.
don't need a front yard setback variance.
No.
It's,
It's
I'm
the
sorry,
width.
lot width,
Lot width.
side yard setback, and combined side yard setback.
That was my mistake. I think I
Okay.
mentioned that.
What's the dimensions of the rear deck?
I'm gonna do the architect one.
It is 14 feet deep and 24 feet wide. And to be clear, the side yard setback we're requesting is for the entirety of the home and the deck.
Oh, sorry. The outdoor shower, is it going to have, do we know the design of it?
I'll defer to the architect for
Okay.
that part.
Should we ask about the tree itself? Does that conform with the Environmental Shade Tree Committee, what they're asking for on the property?
We'll see what they want.
Okay.
You're talking about
And
the
I believe
maple?
it's just one tree.
Street tree.
You're talking about the
right?
street tree, the maple?
Yeah.
Certainly, if they have a preferred material, we can,
Well, generally, we have a list of trees that are approved for this type of environment.
And
absolutely.
again, just because the overhead lines
overhead
right along
lines.
the front
Yeah.
and the narrow strip between the curb and sidewalk, they may choose a small tree instead of a normal shade tree.
There was a suggestion for the type of tree that's on the adjacent lot, some type of cherry tree, I think it was.
Right, they have a cherry
And
tree.
that, because that's a little lower than
Right.
what would be. So the applicant would have no objection to putting in something similar to that.
We usually defer to the Environmental Shade
Yeah.
Tree Group, so
That's
it's
what
not
I
something we
think.
designate. So that can be discussed at a later point with them.
Certainly.
So if there's no further questions for Mr. Kashuba?
Hold on,
That's Peter.
Mr. Avaco.
Chair, if
Almost.
I may, just a few items that Joe testified to, primarily the storm drainage. As you all know, our ordinance says that for a development that's not considered major or minor, that the applicant's engineer shall demonstrate that the post-development runoff rates do not increase. And what's being proposed here, I think you said it, but you really should hear that surrounding the pool, surrounding the property, surrounding the house is all an under drain, which collects runoff from the pool, from the shed, rear yard, from the house, runs into the under drain, which has a perforated pipe in a trench. So all of the water that's being collected from those areas will discharge into the ground. If it has a problem in terms of quantity coming through that pipe, it doesn't just drain onto Pine Street. And Joe knows this because we work with him. He has what we call a pop-up emitter in the front yard. So if it has a problem with too much flow coming through, it'll pop up and drain across the grass of the front yard before it has a negative impact to our public, which is very positive. So I think the drainage system is much better than what's there now and will provide a positive impact on the property. Parking was testified to. It's going to be beneficial simply by the fact that it's going from 3 spaces to 2 required, but there is no off-street parking provided. And then with the landscaping, I'll just note one thing. The engineer's site plan and Joe's testimony was that 48, I believe emerald green arborvitae are proposed. The architect's plan and the application show 43, so that should just be clarified between them, no big issue.
Certainly.
And landscaping is proposed in the area of that shed that Joe testified to, the neighbor's shed that's encroaching on the property. So I would encourage you, and maybe the board wants, if you consider approval of the application, a stipulation or a condition that the shed is removed for the or relocated for the landscaping to be able to be installed on this site.
Well, and also the fence.
And the fence, correct. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Kashuba? All right, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any questions relating to his testimony only, please come to the mic and you can ask Mr. Kashuba your questions. All right, seeing none, Mr. Edinger, you can call your next witness.
Thank you very much.
Would be our architect, Adam Haslett.
Mr. Aslan, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could just state your name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Sure. First name is Adam and last name is Anzolin, Anzzolin.
We have the benefit of your credentials, Mr. Hazelton.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Architecture and a Master's of Architecture from the Catholic University in Washington, D.C. From 2000 was my master's. I've been practicing architecture for about 25 years, and I'm licensed in New Jersey since 2009, and my license is currently active.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Haslett, you're familiar with the project?
I am.
And so can you please tell us what the applicant is planning by way of renovations to 1307 Pine Street?
Sure thing. So it's an existing one-story, two-family dwelling, and the applicant is planning to expand the current footprint of the home into a 2.5-story home with 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths.
And could you just go through the layout of the rooms in the addition for us?
Sure. This information could all be found in the first zoning submission that was provided. So the first floor of the home, you come in off the front porch, you walk into a living room on the south side of the home, followed by the stairs, then into the family room.
What's the depth of the porch?
The depth of the porch varies. On the south side of the home, it's about 5'9", and on the right side of the home, it's in the range of about 9 feet or so. It's a little bit indented into the existing footprint of the home. As you go to the back of the home, again, on the far south corner of the building or the home is the dining room. Opposite that is the kitchen. And then the rest of the north side of the home is kind of the utility section, the powder room, the pantry, the mudroom, sort of some of the primary functions that you don't really want to see all the time when you walk into the home. The second floor of the home, take the stairs up to the second floor. It includes 4 bedrooms. The back portion of the home includes a master bedroom with a fairly nice sized closet for the master room, as well as a master bathroom that's on the north side of the home. The laundry is also located on that floor, which is fairly common in new homes. And then the front of the home has 2 bedrooms that face the street, and then the other bedroom is on the south side of the home. And then the hallway bathroom is on the north side of the home. The next story of the home is, or not story, I should say the half story is the attic. So the attic is an open space for family to use. It will be, the square footage of that area will meet code. So if we need to reduce it slightly to meet the building code, it will meet all codes.
What's the height of the building?
The total height of the building to the midpoint of the eaves is 30 feet. The total height to the ridge is in the range of 36 feet. The home will be constructed on the original foundation. There will be some minor improvements to probably the center of the home to accommodate for some structural issues, some carrying down some additional loads from the new floors. But generally the foundation is in good shape and intact and will remain in place.
I understand the attic space is habitable?
It is currently, yeah, or it will be, yes. It's being proposed
So
to.
we would want assurances that it would not be used as an extra bedroom.
Correct. It will not be used as a bedroom. There is no bathroom. It will just be an open space.
I don't know why there's an objection to it being used as a bedroom. Yeah. It's habitable. It meets the criteria for a half-story,
Okay,
because we didn't change that ordinance yet.
but you would have to come back to the zoning board though for that, would you not?
No,
No?
there's no
They don't
limit
need
on
a
bedrooms.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't need a variance for it. The
The
parking
size
requirements are.
complies, the height complies. So
Okay.
you can have it, yeah.
All right.
There were a couple questions on the shed, or maybe not questions, but the shed in the back is about 90 square feet, located to the back of the property. There are two sides of that shed that are enclosed by the fence. The fence on one side will enclose the pool equipment, as well as it's planned to also enclose the HVAC equipment. And I think if that area is not big enough, we'll probably have to position it on the back side of the building, plus or minus where the deck is, so that may need to get looked at a little bit on our end.
Clarify, say that again?
So the current plan is to try to get the HVAC units for the home located in the fenced area on the north side of the shed,
Okay.
in conjunction with the pool equipment.
Okay.
The other side of the shed is the shower. It is currently planned to be an open shower to above. There is no roof planned. I don't know if there's an ordinance here that in terms of if a roof is required, some towns.
It's
So,
more of the floor.
okay.
It's gonna have a,
The floor will have a drain.
Will it have hot water?
It will have hot water, yes.
So you're gonna have to tie that into the sewer system.
It will be tied into the sewer system. That's the plan, yes.
And I think if you have a hot water, I think you're required to have a roof. I think the code requires that. You'll have to look into that. I
So
don't
if
think-
it's required by code,
Yeah,
we'll.
it's not gonna affect
we'll provide
our
that.
board decision, but I think the code requires that.
And if it's required by code, we'll absolutely provide that.
What will abut, what's going to abut the HVAC equipment if it remains in the rear?
So the HVAC equipment for the principal building is, like I said before, is planned to be within the same fenced area as the pool equipment. Again, the pool equipment, based on the space that we have, it's almost 6 feet by 9 feet, that area, so it should fit. If it
It's backed by the
doesn't,
shed, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
It's backed by the shed?
Back by the shed, inside one of those fenced areas on the north side of the shed, correct.
and that's reading from the site plan. Reading from the site plan, that's 9.5 feet to the side property line. And then there's no dimension on the rear, but looks like no, it's 5 feet to the rear. So right now it complies with the setbacks. If you want to put it behind the shed, you can't.
Correct, yes, agreed.
You plan to enclose the equipment as well, is that right?
With just a fence around it, correct, just to shield it so it can't be seen.
Okay.
The shed roof will have the same pitch as the house?
The shed roof is planned to have the same pitch as the house, correct?
And the same type of siding, I'm assuming?
Correct. It's, so I do have an exhibit. I don't know if I can kind of give a little bit more, can I approach the board to provide the exhibit? Just some printouts? You want to do that? Okay.
Yeah, why don't we mark that as A1 if,
Sure, you can keep that.
while Mr. Edinger's handing that out, if you want to just describe it.
Sure, it's the exhibit that has been prepared is front elevation of the home. It includes the existing elevation on the bottom as well as the new elevation, and then a proposed three-dimensional image of what the home will look like. Colors are not finalized, but it gives you a little bit better visual of the home.
Quite a change.
Much different. So just, so what you're seeing here, this is the exhibit. Again, on the left side is, bottom left corner, you're seeing the existing home, the one-story with roof, two dwelling unit. Above that is the proposed front elevation of the home. The colors have been shown here to kind of distinguish what we're sort of proposing here. So the blue area is sort of the existing area of the home. The orange area on the top in that elevation is the area that we're requesting relief from for the variance. That's the new area that's falling inside that existing setback area. And then the image on the right is the proposed sort of look of the home, horizontal sort of lap siding for the first 2 stories, a little bit of cedar siding in the upper eave area. Again, white trim and asphalt shingle roofs. Front porch, I know that there were some concerns originally about the railing, so the railing will meet the local ordinance. We'll have the lathe balusters around the front porch, as well as the lattice below the porch to make it look nice.
There's a question, I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
From this image, maybe there's a better image, it's hard to see the setback on the one side of the porch?
Yeah, the image is it's hard to see the setback in the image, yes.
But it's set back on the side of the two.
It is set back on the door and the first window on the right side of the home are set back about an additional, I think, I can tell you the actual dimension. They're
Oh,
set.
so when I'm looking, so it's the right side when we're looking at it?
Yeah, the right side, they're set back about, I'd say 3 feet in, or 4, almost 4 feet probably to the wall where they're inset there.
Uh-huh.
What are we looking at with the roof line?
With the roof line?
To the left of the house?
Sure, so
There's two
the-
roofs.
So the little shed roof here on the right is to allow for proper head clearances and the stair to get to the half story. So that's just a little bump out for the stair area. The remainder of the roof line is the gable roof. Yeah, I'm not sure where was that's in here.
Any further questions for Mr. Anselin?
Can you, let's talk about the window in the half story.
Mhm.
Is that going to be operable? We'd like it to be operable.
I believe the applicant would prefer to have the option to have it operable, yes.
And to match the windows below.
Yes, I think it's a little bit to be determined, but
Okay.
yes, I think the operability of that window is preferred.
You're talking about the half story, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
And then, did you set the elevation for the deck, or was that the engineer? Have I missed my opportunity there?
Sure, I believe the drawings that were submitted here, I believe the deck was lower. The intent with the deck, it would be pretty much flush with the first floor, so we would have better constructability with the deck framing. So yes, I would agree that the deck would almost be flush with the first floor of the home, and there would be really no step down from the back door.
And you said you're keeping the foundation. Are you also keeping that finished floor elevation? You're not
The finished floor
actually
elevation is
raising
to
the house?
remain, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The framing of the first floor is intact, so it's in good condition.
And then, did you have any opinion about our suggestion about flipping the ground floor plan?
I did not review that question with the applicant at this point, but we're open to, you know.
I mean, it's just, seems like it'd be a better quality of life for them.
What did you ask, Donna?
So in our report, we mentioned that because the side yard on the south side of the building is so small, and it's right next to the neighbor's fence, and it's kind of low, but that's where they have all the sort of living area on the ground floor. There's the dining room, there's the living room, the family room, they have windows, and then all the utility stuff and the cabinets on the wall in the kitchen are on the side where you have that great big, open front yard on your neighbor's lot. It just seems like, if you
A better view.
the floor plan, you'd get more utility, but that's totally not.
But that's up to them though,
Yeah.
Donna, it's not
It
really.
was just, no, it was just interesting observation.
I mean, they
to
may
take
prefer
advantage.
the way it's designed that way, so I understand your suggestion.
Yep. Okay, so then the other thing is, let's see, architecture. Right, okay. You said you're gonna do the porch railings, yes, okay. Window, okay. The deck, okay. Oh, the other thing about the deck, you have some plantings? Are those on the deck, in the deck? How, can you explain those, was it Mexican grass?
I'm not sure those were on my plan, so I'm
Oh,
not,
is that the engineer's plan?
it may be on
Yeah,
Joe's
Mexican
plan, I'm not sure.
feather grass. All right. But your intent is that it's just a uniform rectangle rear deck? No perforations or weird cutouts or?
No, it would just be an open deck for, a table with an umbrella, maybe put a grill back there or something like that.
Had a question in regard to the arborvitae. So you had mentioned that before, the number of arborvitae.
Oh,
yeah,
Peter
Peter.
mentioned
Okay.
there's a discrepancy in the quantities.
So we have on the site plan 43 emerald green arborvitae.
And on the engineering plan, it was 48. Joe's testimony was 48. Just, won't matter, but just so we can.
We can clarify the number of arborvitaes.
So it's going to be not less than 43 and no more than 48, and some number in between possibly.
You know, it should be the appropriate spacing for the size of the plants. Let's let them have that quantity.
Any further questions from the board for Mr. Angelin? Board professionals? All right, I'll open it up to the public. Any questions from the public for Mr. Angelin's testimony only? Seeing none, Mr. Edinger, back in your ball court.
I have nothing further to add. I think the people who know what they're talking about have already spoken. So we think it's a good plan for the neighborhood. We think it's a positive design and can't really see any drawbacks. It's definitely going to be an improvement so far as taking out that anomalous two-family use and make it a single-family home. And again, I think it's just a real positive change.
Thank you, Mr. Edinger. So, based on that, we will now have open it up for public comment. Do I have a motion for public comment?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. If anyone in the public would like to comment on this application, either for or against, you have 4 minutes. Seeing none, we will close public comment. All right, and it's back to the board for deliberation. Does anybody want to be first?
Sure, I will. So I think it's good that you're getting rid of the one non-conforming use from the two-family to the single-family. I think the other requests that you've made for variances seem reasonable. And yeah, I think the design is well thought out, and you're not increasing the footprint that's there. So I appreciate that as well.
Anybody else on the board? I too will echo what Mr. Scully had to say. I appreciate the fact that you're going from a non-conforming use to a single-family home. I think it's a nice design that fits in with the rest of the neighborhood. It's certainly arts and crafty enough for me. And it does look like a positive effect on the neighborhood. So, anybody else, or do we want to go for a motion? All right, I'll make a motion to approve. What is it? 1307 Pine Street's application.
Second.
Before you do that, do you want to just go through a few of the
Sure.
items that were suggested? So the variances are 36.5 foot wide lot where 50 foot is required. Side yard setback of 4.3 feet at the south side where 6 feet is required. And a combined side yard setback of 12.5 feet where 14 feet is required, as well as a design waiver where there's 0 parking spaces proposed and 2 are required according to the ordinance for a single-family home. One of the conditions is that they convert the property to a single-family home from a 2-family home. The storage shed of the neighbor, they'll discuss with the neighbor as far as trying to relocate that. The fence shall be a pool-compliant fence where necessary, no less than 4 feet. And as designed, anywhere where there is a 6-foot fence, it shall not be greater than 6 foot. The applicant will discuss with the Shade Tree Commission the type of tree for the street tree in lieu of the maple tree. The height shall comply. The outdoor shower shall comply with the construction code, and if a roof over the shower is required for hot water, it shall have a roof, and that will be factored into the overall calculations. I think Donna, in your report, I think you mentioned that some of the calculations, such as the pool, don't count, so just redo the calculations to make sure they're consistent with the ordinance. You'll make the plans consistent as far as the arborvitae is concerned. The deck will be substantially flush with the first floor. And I think that's it.
Jeff, do we need to put in there that if the AC unit can't fit back by the shed?
The AC
That
unit,
will be removed.
so they're not asking for a variance for those conditions.
Okay.
So it just has to comply, or they're gonna have to come back to the board.
Okay, great.
So if they change it in the design phase, it really has
Has to come
no
back.
problem with us unless it's moved to a situation where they're within a setback.
Okay, thank you.
Understood. Okay, so back to the motion based on those conditions. I make a
Second?
motion to, all right,
I think Carrie seconded. Yeah.
Carrie seconded.
Carrie, second? Okay. All right, roll call. Wendy Glassman,
Yes.
Natalie Passerini,
Yes.
Carrie Dim,
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully,
Yes.
and Chairman Avalone.
Yes,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck with the construction.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second?
And as the next applicant will come up. Ready, Mr. Beekman?
We're ready. Oh, let me do roll call. I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot my secretary job. Wendy Glassman,
Here.
Natalie Passerini,
Here.
Carrie Dim,
Here.
Vice Chair Scully,
Here.
and Chairman Avalone.
Here. All right, next application, 700 First Avenue, LLC. Mr. Semmer? Is that? Seamer.
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Hi, good evening. I'm here on behalf of 700 First Avenue LLC and their application for Block 2602, Lot 6. 700 First Avenue LLC is proposing to add an 11-space parking lot to the existing residential site at 700 First Avenue, the southwest corner of Bond Street and First Avenue. There's also a proposal to add 3 balconies and decks as indicated on the site plan and the plans. Also a proposal for fencing and landscaping. The applicant is seeking D2 variances and C2 variances. We have 2 professionals tonight, Patrick Lidisi from an engineer and John Takimi, planner. And we'll start with Patrick.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And just for clarification, our professionals have also been sworn in for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Beekman.
And if you could just state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Patrick Laudisi, Laudisi.
Thank you.
Could we have the benefit of your credentials, Mr.
course.
Lardisi?
I'm a graduate of New Jersey Institute of Technology with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I've been practicing engineering for over 10 years. I'm a licensed engineer since 2019, and my license is in good standing. I have presented in front of a handful of boards in mainly Ocean and Monmouth County, but not in front of Asbury Park as of yet, until right now.
Thank you. As long as your credentials are still in good license, yes?
They are, yes.
Okay.
All set?
Yep.
All right. This application is seeking site plan approval for an asphalt parking lot and 3 total proposed balconies on the subject lot, Block 2602, Lot 6, also known as 700 First Avenue. The subject lot is an 11,500 square foot lot located within the R1 residential zone and currently contains 2 existing multifamily dwellings and a grassed yard. There are 11 existing units in total. 8 units are located in the back building and 3 units are in the side building. There are multiple existing nonconformities associated with the site not to be modified with this application in any way, and we are requesting 1 new variance for impervious coverage where 47.84% exists and 83.17% is proposed against the 65% maximum allowable in the R1 zone. 11 new off-street parking spaces are proposed within the approximately 3,900 square feet of new asphalt. Of the existing 11 units on site, 8 units are 1-bedroom and 3 units are 3-bedroom. This brings the total off-street parking requirement to 14 spaces pursuant to Asbury Ordinance Section 30-59.5. Currently, no off-street parking is available, so the construction of any off-street parking would be a significant improvement to that condition. 11 spaces have been provided as that was the maximum that could feasibly fit within the space available, and therefore we are requesting a waiver for the parking space requirement. The access to the parking lot will effectively eliminate approximately 24 linear feet of curb parking along First Avenue, but there are no formal painted parking spaces. It's just a painted line that's parallel with the curb to denote the width of it, but the actual individual lines perpendicular to the curb are not there. So effectively, we're losing 1 parking space because the painted section begins offset from the corner of Bond and First. So we're effectively losing 1 space, but we're gaining 11 off-street parking spaces. The stormwater is managed by routing all runoff to 2 curb inlets found near the driveway entrance. These are then connected to a subsurface storm chamber system under the parking lot consisting of 8 SC34 chambers surrounded on all sides by 12-inch stone, 12-inch thick of drainage stone. Total storage when full, including the 40% voids in the stone, is 1,238 cubic feet and is sufficient to store the entire 2-year storm event without any infiltration. For the 10-year storm, the infiltration rate was considered. The proposed system results in a 100% reduction of flows off-site compared to the pre-construction condition, which improves the hydrologic conditions on the surrounding streets. The system was designed as a subsurface system due to area constraints that make the other options in Table 5 of Ordinance Section 30-58.7 not feasible. The provided stormwater report provides the hydrographs for the 2 and the 10-year storm. The site lighting for the parking lot is provided through 4 building-mounted wall pack lights and 1 14-foot tall light pole near the northeast corner of the parking lot. The fixture on the pole is going to be revised to be shielded to minimize the light spillage onto Bond Street. I don't think the fixture that was selected is shielded because it results in a lot of spillage onto Bond. So we will revise that as well as revise the illumination levels to better align with the requirements of Ordinance Section 30-56.4-B3. We will add the required notes to the plans as specified in the engineer's review letter. And the proposed landscaping includes a variety of street trees, beach grasses, and evergreen shrubs. We take no exception to the comments provided in the engineer's letter. The street trees are provided within the township right-of-way, which will require, or city, excuse me, will require city approval. Part of the reason why they were set in some of the locations at least is area constraints regarding how much space we had to use for the parking area, but also the edge of pavement. The edge of pavement is approximately 26 feet inset from our property line on First Avenue, so the street trees would effectively be completely off, almost out of view while traveling down the road. Although we are not necessarily against trying to squeeze them in, but that would involve revising a lot of the other plantings. I know that I understand there may be some issue with the beach grasses. We don't necessarily have an issue with working with changing those as well. But we do provide boxwoods, basically evergreen shrubs to shield some of the lighting from the headlights that would bleed out onto the street. And that pretty much ends everything I have prepared.
This site was occupied, is currently occupied.
Currently occupied, yes, with COs.
And currently, those people that live there are all
Parking on the street.
On the street.
Mhm.
Okay.
How close is the curb cut going to be to the intersection? Is it the 22.9? I think it's on sheet 3.
Let me grab my scale real quick. It is about 20 feet, 21 feet from the start of the curb radius at the corner.
Okay.
So then from that point forward, it's about another 7 or 8 feet, give or take.
Okay.
So if you're taking that measurement from the curb on Bond Street, it's about 30.
And what was the thought behind putting the curb cut on First as opposed to further back onto Bond, where it'd be further out of the intersection?
First Avenue was selected because it made better sense with how the parking lot would be oriented. Because if we have the entrance off of Bond Street, you'd have to have bullnoses, which would take up more spaces on the sides. So when the curb comes in, you'd have to have a landscaped area that would eat up extra space for the parking. We'd lose extra parking spaces that way.
Okay. Would it be out of the intersection though?
It would be
50
further
feet?
out of the intersection if the entrance was put onto Bond Street, yes.
Okay. And what's the distance? I'm on sheet 3 still. The distance between, I guess it would be the south of the driveway to the proposed decks.
You mean from the edge of pavement to the deck?
Right, yeah. Is there gonna be anything there, like a curb stop or something to stop a car? It looks like it's pretty close, but I can't tell.
You're talking about on the side building, yes?
Yes, yeah, where it says
Yeah,
proposed
we'll have
deck.
curb stops. Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the distance is between the end of the parking lot and the deck? Where the parking lot bumps out there?
About 3 feet.
3 feet?
So you show the accessible space abutting that deck. How does that work?
The, yeah. Actually, I don't know if the deck's on the first floor, second.
We'll address that later.
So I think I'm on sheet 5 now. So you have the paver walk, which would be on, I guess, the west side.
Mm-hmm.
And this may be Donna's question. It looks like it goes right into the deck. So people park their cars, they get onto the paver walkway. How do they get to the back building?
Is that deck on the second story or the first?
All on the first.
Oh, it's on the first, okay.
A photo might be helpful. Here. This photo might be helpful to see what's going on there. It's all ground level.
Okay.
This hasn't been submitted?
It has been submitted, but,
So we'll mark it A1.
we don't want to submit these. This is kind of interest, this is what.
Thank you.
We'll pass these out. This is what was in the location where we're asking for parking today. This was the Montauk Hotel.
I have that bigger too, if you want.
You're welcome.
Jeff, do you want to mark these exhibits? Or?
Yeah, I'm marking the one that was just passed out by Mr. Tykina as A1.
We could revise the location of the 88 space, potentially move it to a different location so it's more easily accessible to the rest of the property.
Or get rid of it.
Can't get rid of it.
Okay, so this doesn't help me answer my question though. Is that again, a reference sheet 5 of 9. So you have the paver walk to the west side of the parking lot?
Yes.
And I see where that gets the entrance into the building on First. And then it goes right into a proposed deck. Where's the walkway for the residents to get from the parking lot to the back, or I guess would be the south building?
They would just walk through the parking area,
And through the landscaping between the parking area and the south building?
either along there or within the drive aisle, as shown.
No, but I think what Mr. Scully's saying is that if you walk through the parking lot toward that building, you would have to walk through the landscaping to
Yes.
get out to Bond Street in order to get the front of that building where the doors are.
Correct. Thank you, Donna. That was a much more articulate way of saying it.
A walkway can be added.
You had a walkway.
And where would that be added? Would that be added in the back or? Because it doesn't seem like you can extend the paver walk because that goes right into a proposed deck.
The planner will address it.
Okay. See my fucking plan. That sucks.
Donna, while we're on the parking lot, was there, in your report, did you mention something about a requirement for EV charging? Did I see that somewhere?
Did it? I don't think I did.
That was yours, Peter?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a requirement to have,
Ordinance regulations, and it would have to be a design waiver if you chose not to provide.
Well, it's a statutory requirement. I don't
Okay.
think it applies, so you can't give it design.
and one, for this size parking lot, it would be one charging station?
Yes.
This is a minor site plan, though. This is a minor site plan. No,
No?
major, okay. Why did I know?
I believe the criteria is if you are exempt if you have less than 25 spaces, but we're brought back in because it's multifamily.
Yeah, I think there's a loophole here with why you don't have to provide, but in neither event, if you can't not provide if you are required to provide. It's a
Correct.
statutory requirement.
Right.
Can we go back to the curb cut again? So you said that the First Avenue was chosen because on Bond Street, you would have to have the curb stops, is that what you said? And that would take up space?
It'd be a bullnose.
So because the right-of-way of Bond Street is much narrower, so the property line and the street line are very close
Right.
on Bond. But on First, you have that really wide
Wide
right-of-way,
area.
so there's more room to make the turn
To make-
into the parking lot
Okay,
and get to the spaces. If you reorient, you lose that sort of cushion, and so you can't get the same number of spaces with the right radius and
Okay.
internal movement.
Even though your
when you
spaces
pull
are,
in off Bond, the radius for the curb is going to cut into the space for the parking, and then on top of that, you'd have to then make a left or a right to go into the drive aisle to park in the spaces. And then
Okay.
that requires a separate bullnose. Like
okay,
the little 5-foot wide
Right.
rounded edges that are usually concrete or grass, or sometimes we'll plant some like little shrubs or flowers.
Yes.
You'd have to have those. And both of those, 5 feet each side, eats up one space on its own.
okay. And even though your spaces are bigger than what's required?
We could
You'd still-
size, I don't know why the plans were spaced at 10 by 19. Is there an ordinance requirement in the town or city, excuse me?
9 by 18.
9 by 18 like NJC? We could size them down and provide more room for both landscaping, for a walkway, and for,
You're just providing one handicap spot?
yes.
If you size them down, would that allow for the bullnose and allow for the curb cut to be out of the intersection?
We could explore that opportunity, but I have a feeling we will end up less than 11 total spaces, even with the reduced space.
There's gonna be a fence around the parking lot as well?
We don't have one planned, but we are not opposed to providing one
Okay.
if requested.
No, I was just asking.
But there's a lot of landscaping you're proposing, correct?
Yes.
There is fencing shown on the site plan. Actually, wait, which sheet am I on?
Yeah, on 5, there's
Yeah, site plan
fencing.
shows a fence on the Bond Street side.
But it stops at the building.
Driveway, and then along the interior side.
I thought they were requesting, asking for one that's basically going along the face of the parking, like down the end all the way towards First Avenue and around. Which we're not.
So the plan shows privacy fence
Where are you seeing that, Don?
on basically, 3 sides. So on that
On 5?
site plan sheet, is this 5? 2 of 9.
Oh, no, you're right. Proposed 4-foot-high dune fence along Bond Street and proposed open picket 4-foot high in between the curb access at First Avenue.
Right, and then privacy fence on the west side of the parking lot, which I don't know what that is. Is there detail?
I don't know what the intent for the privacy fence was. Presumably for headlights, yes. It's right against the edge of the pavement,
I don't see a detail. So can you, and maybe this is Mr. Takina's area, describe the types of fences? You? Okay, it's gonna be Mr. Takina. All right, grading and drainage. All right, so you described the stormwater system as being an infiltration system, is that right?
Yes, subsurface.
And it's totally within the footprint of the parking lot?
Correct,
Okay. And that's just capturing what's in the parking lot?
correct. It's all that, all of the impervious surface from the parking area.
Okay.
Gets
No
channeled.
roofs,
No.
none of the building stuff?
The roofs are handled with gutter leaders, just discharge to the ground, which we're not proposing to change.
Okay.
For the handicap space, how is that resident getting to the paver walkway? Are they going all the way out through the parking lot to First Avenue? Because in front of, to the west of that is the proposed deck and a grass area.
I think they had said,
That would be for you?
that they
All
would
right.
consider relocating
Yes.
that space so that they could figure out a way to give it access
Okay.
to the walkways. And they can, the way the parking lot's designed, they could move that space.
Right, yeah, move it further
Up and
south
down,
or north.
But as you had mentioned, it's a very tight squeeze between the edge of the parking and the deck on the smaller building. And then, as it's dimensioned, it's 8.5 feet from the, the little bump out in the parking lot toward the larger building. And the decks are closer than that. Because they're 5, so it's only about 3.5 feet from the parking lot to the decks
Yeah.
on that building.
What about refuse? Where is that being picked up and?
That might be better for somebody else.
There's
to-
a trash enclosure at the back of the rear building. And there's a trash and recycling area on the west side of the side building also. It's labeled on sheet 3. But that's an existing condition that's being handled now, today, with no parking.
So you're not planning on changing that location?
No.
And the lighting will be faced downward into the parking lot? so that it
Downward and
doesn't-
inward, yes. We're going to minimize as much spillage as possible outside of Bond Street and onto First
And how
Avenue.
many lighting structures are you putting up?
There's one proposed light pole on, towards the corner of Bond and First, and then there's 4 wall packs that are mounted to the buildings.
On the buildings?
Yes. And those can be catered to being motion sense or anything like that to turn off when they're not being in use.
And this parking lot's not going to have any gate in front of it, it's just going to be an open space
Yes,
off the First Avenue?
yes.
So with the proposed decks, how are you overcoming the argument that this is an expansion of a non-conforming by adding 15 by 8-foot decks?
Okay, that's
That's
next
yours,
question.
guys? All right. I'll save them. I'm not gonna ask any more questions, I'll just wait for you.
Any further questions for Mr. Laudisi? Board professionals, do you have any questions for Mr. Laudisi?
Anything else?
I don't think I have anything.
If I could just go through the drainage improvements, just so the board and public understands. They are, as testified to, they are proposing what's called a storm chamber system underground in the parking lot, only taking drainage from the parking lot, not taking drainage from the building. They're indicating that the existing drainage configuration will continue from the existing structures. Goes into the grass?
Correct.
Goes into the grass.
Yes.
It's an infiltration system. It will capture the entire, what we call the 2-year storm event, to better the pre-development drainage conditions. Will not use infiltration for the 2-year storm event. It meets those calculations. And the 10-year storm event is also met utilizing the infiltration of the soil. We have one issue that's required by our ordinance, and I made a note so I can read it without my engineering terminology, so we all understand it. Sometimes I have to do that myself. It's called a mounding analysis. It's required by DEP regulations. It's required by our ordinance. And a mounding analysis is a hydraulic assessment, basically. It calculates the temporary rise in the water table beneath any proposed basin. So this basin will infiltrate water into the ground. It also should tell us whether that causes a rise in groundwater. That could then affect either this structure or adjacent structures. If there's a basement, putting an infiltration system in could effectively create underground water situation that migrates into the basement area, causes a negative situation. If the drainage system was along the perimeter of the property, I would be more concerned because it could potentially aggravate adjacent property owners, which we don't want to have happen. It's here in the middle of the property, would probably just affect these buildings. The ordinance requires a simple calculation, though, just to prove that the infiltration rate of this underground system does not cause that negative impact. So I would recommend that as a condition of any consideration by the board.
We have no issue providing a groundwater mounding analysis.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Parking was testified to. Consider revising the location of the handicap space. And I do agree that the one space on First Avenue would be lost. One parking space available on First Avenue would be lost by the configuration of the entry drive into the property. But we are proposing that consider the fact that 19 are required by our ordinance for this size structure, but the testimony was given in justification for that. And with regard to exterior lighting, we note that the light on Bond Street does provide a considerable amount of light spillage into the road, and I think the consideration should be made for rear shielding or maybe decreasing the light fixture size.
Yeah, either
We don't want to have
change the amount of lumens, change
Change
a bunch of things.
Perfect. Which would resolve that in its entirety. The ordinance does require a couple other lighting issues for compliance, like the finish of the light pole and things like that, which the applicant has agreed to meet. Other than that, I'll just be here to answer any board questions if you have any.
What was the type of fencing that would be utilized? Now that we discussed privacy fencing, do you understand what that is,
So the plan calls for privacy fence along the side building on the west side. It calls for 4-foot-high dune fence along Bond Street, and then 4-foot-high open picket fence along the property line along First Avenue. We are not necessarily bound to those. We are open to changing them as the board desires, to whichever option is best suited for this project. I can see why they chose what they chose, to kind of go with the feel of like the beachy theme, considering that we're in Asbury Park. But we are not beholden to what is reflected, and we're not opposed to any changes that are required.
The ordinance requires what, 4 foot high maximum, Donna?
On the street facing side, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be
It can't
careful
be
for the
solid.
site triangles too.
That doesn't really sound privacy to me.
Privacy means it's solid.
Right.
It's only on.
The solid fence is on the inboard side.
But as far as, shielding headlights,
Right.
it's not gonna.
Right.
And the type of landscaping maybe would help that situation though, right? If it was arborvitae.
Evergreen shrubs,
Yeah.
arborvitae's can help shield it, yes. And also with consideration that if we do reduce the size of the spaces, we have a little bit more room to provide additional landscaping too.
The spaces could be 1 foot.
Narrower and shorter.
And shorter.
They're shown at 10 by 19, minimum is 9 by 18.
So I, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, no, go ahead.
So I know I keep going back to the curb cut on First. And you're not a traffic engineer, but my concern is that First Avenue is a very busy street, especially in the summer. Bond Street is also a very busy street, but it's a one-way. So cars are only coming out one way. Where the curb cut is on First, you may have cars coming out trying to go east or west.
Correct. We can certainly explore other options, but we would inevitably have to most likely lose one of the extra spaces. We'd be going with 10 instead of 11.
And I say that I'll add to that, is that I appreciate you trying to get off-street parking. It's certainly something that is lacking in Asbury Park, so I appreciate that. But just from my experience of trying to pull out of parking lots in this city and cross streets onto the avenues, it's very difficult.
I agree, but it is also a low use, it's not generating a lot of traffic. It's not like it's a commercial building or like a restaurant or anything like that. It's just 11 units.
True.
So you might get a little bit of a spike during, rush hour, rather than leaving at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock to go to work, and when they're coming back at 4 or 5, but coming back in is a little bit easier because you can just pull in.
True.
But it's not going to create like a log jam under normal circumstances. If we have like a festival or something going on in Asbury Park, then yes, but the entire city is going to be kind of a mess in regards to traffic.
Are the apartments going to be designated with a specific space or?
I did have some conversation with the owner, and he had mentioned that he wanted to assign spaces just so that there's some semblance of, he said, no chaos, essentially, so that each unit has its own space. We have 11 units, 11 spaces, makes
Right.
sense.
So that was my question. Is each unit going to get a space?
Ideally, yes, although there might be some issue with that with the ADA space. So if there is a tenant that is disabled and needs to use that space, then obviously we can just assign that to them. But if there isn't, you can't have a non-ADA vehicle parking in an ADA space, which would be the 11th.
What if none of the residents are disabled? Does that space have to stay open?
Yes.
So then you only, okay.
It's Title 9. That's-
We have to wait for you.
Yeah.
We have an answer for that.
Any further questions for Mr. Laudisi? Board professionals? Any further questions? No? All right, I'll open it up to the public for Mr. Laudisi. Please ask questions relating only to his testimony.
Yes, Dan Shuttermail, 615 Asbury Avenue. Isn't it true that there is a hydrant on Bond Street close to the corner of First Avenue, which would preclude you from having a curb cut on Bond Street?
We could locate the curb cut in a way that would not impact that hydrant.
Is there a curb cut? There was historically people parking on the grass there and using a curb cut on First Avenue. Is it an official curb cut, or is that just, there is none there officially? Okay.
You have to provide it.
Is it possible to do the lighting in the parking lot by lit bollards instead of 14-foot high lights that may shine onto the street?
We can explore that avenue, we just have to make sure that we meet the requirements. It has to be a certain amount of foot candles throughout the entire parking area, and bollard lights don't really project too much light. So it might be difficult to get the required foot candles in the dead center of the drive aisles, but we can certainly take a look and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Because we might be able to accommodate that with the wall packs too, because those don't project horizontally out as far. If they're coming off the building, that can potentially catch the rest of the parking area, and maybe get what we want without a full pole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question.
Your name and address?
Okay, Charles Richard.
You said Richard?
Address 1119 4th Avenue.
1119
4th
Fourth Avenue?
Asbury Park, yeah.
I'm sorry, you said your last name was Richard?
Richard.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to know the lighting from your parking lot that you're proposing. How far over will that, east will that go? Because my property is right on the corner with a wraparound porch. And I'm concerned about lighting and noise. How far are those lights going to shine, you know, across Bond Street east on that corner?
So if we're going to be revising the lighting plan, I can't give you a good answer to that right now, but I can say that there are ordinance requirements for the amount of light spillage that can spill off of a property line regarding a development like this, and we intend on meeting all of those requirements with the revision to the lighting plan.
In reference to your, I don't know what this privacy fence is that you have on the west side, I think?
It's on the opposite side. It's on the building side of the property.
Okay,
So
but,
between the parking lot and the buildings was where the privacy fence was located.
oh, okay. So what does that privacy fence do exactly?
It would be for headlights into the tenants' units.
So what about the headlights? You know, your entranceway will be on First Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And your parking spots will be east-west or north-south?
The parking spaces would face Bond.
Okay, so the parking spaces are gonna face Bond.
Correct.
Okay, which means that when they park and their lights are on, we get lights, across the street where my property is on a corner.
Right.
So what are you doing to ensure that that's not going to be something that's going to impact, properties on the other side?
We have landscaping proposed along that property boundary that include evergreen boxwoods, so they're small shrubs that remain green throughout the entire year, and then dune grasses and the dune fence. The dune fence admittedly isn't going to do a whole lot for you in regards to the headlights, but the rest will do a pretty sufficient job at diffusing that headlight so it's not just blaring into your windows.
So what will also stop I guess people don't necessarily want to look at, a parking lot. You understand what I'm saying? So how are you going to hide your parking lot? With big shrubs or something, that are evergreens that are year-round. Because if you're sitting on your porch, why do I want to look at a parking lot? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, we're proposing 10 trees.
You want to walk us there now?
We're proposing 10 trees.
Sir, I know what's there now. I don't need you to say that. You're out of order to me as far as I'm concerned, gentlemen.
We're proposing 3 linden trees, 7 maple, although I heard there was a potential conflict with that selection. We have no objection to changing those either. The trees will provide some shielding from that, but you're always going to see some of the parking lot, especially if you're on an upper floor in your house. You will see some of the parking area, but compared to what it is now, where we have potentially 11 units that are all street parking, they're occupying spaces. And
Well, it's been like that since 1980 or 1979. The
Right.
parking, what I'm saying that area has been accommodating parking since 1980, 1979.
we are also providing all this extra landscaping, all these the dune grasses, the beach grasses, the shrubs, the trees, in an effort to beautify the whole area as much as possible while providing off-street parking that's desperately needed in Asbury Park. You have a lot of issues with parking on the street. The more we can get off-street, the better. And we're doing everything we can to, hide away what we're trying to do here. But I mean, compared
That's the
to
operable
right now,
word right there, hide away.
Yeah.
Hide it.
we have. I mean, right now it's just weeds. Doesn't look much better compared to a landscape building.
Mr. Bond, do you have a preference where the parking lot entrance is, whether it's on Bond or First?
Well, if I had to say, where would be the best, the better entrance, it would be First. Because at least, personally, I wouldn't have cars, going in and out because they're in and out off of Bond Street. The only thing that, to me, with what you want to do here that would make it fit in is if you had very high evergreen shrubs, like a fence, to hide your parking lot. Other than that, if someone was sitting on that porch, they could
Mr. Richard, you
tolerate
need to
that.
ask questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
You're
all right.
commenting.
Yeah, you're right.
I
Look,
appreciate
I don't know
that
how to
you.
do this.
So please ask a question
Okay,
regarding.
so I guess that's it. I don't have enough.
Can I just answer that one? I know it was a comment, but
Go right ahead, Mr. Lardisi.
we can, like I said, entertain revising the landscaping to provide a little bit better shielding, but we do have to be mindful of the sight triangle on that corner. Sight triangle is essentially when you're pulling up to the intersection, you have to be able to see down the road to check for traffic. We have to make sure that that's not going to be a concern. It is a one-way road, so we have that working for us, but it is something to be mindful of. Because, we still have pedestrians walking up and down the street, so we still need to be able to see. We can't just bring those evergreens all the way up to First Avenue. We'll have to be mindful of those.
And Mr. Richard, I just want you to know that as far as this process goes, this is a question portion. You will have the right to make your own comments when it's open up to the public as well. Okay? All right.
Anyone else in the public for Mr. Lardisi? Thank you. Mr. Seymour, please proceed. Call your next witness, please.
Next is John Takima, a planner.
Mr. Takina, would you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. You got me right the first time. Hi, how are you?
Takima, could you give us the benefit of your credentials?
Certainly. I'm going to do my name first. My name is John Tykeenitz. T as in Thomas, A-I, K as in Kelly, I-N as in Nicholas A. I'm a licensed planner in the state of New Jersey. I have been since I completed my studies at Rutgers University in 1992. I've spent the last 33 years of my career doing this, testifying before planning and zoning boards around the state and across the country on behalf of applicants just like this. I've appeared before more than 210 boards throughout the state. I was last here in 2022, and it's nice to be back.
Welcome back. Thank you for your credentials.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Certainly. So we were very unfair to Mr. Lardisi, frankly. You may have noticed the plans were prepared by Landmark Engineering and Mr. Giglio, and Mr. Giglio retired at the end of the year. So Patrick had to pick this up kind of cold. So he's quote unquote defending plans that aren't his own, which wasn't quite fair to him, but he did a great job. I am here to talk about the application from a planning standpoint. I also kind of managed the application process, bringing it in, so I can answer a little bit more of the questions that are there. I can talk about.
But you're not an architect.
I am not an architect. I am a planner.
I don't want you answering any architectural questions, Mr. Takima.
I will not be answering any architectural questions, I promise.
Then please proceed.
Thank you. So we are here for 3 different types of relief, technically. The first is called a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use. I think Ms. Miller did a great job in her letter of explaining some of the trigger points for an expansion of a non-conforming use. So I actually think the first thing the board can decide is the change so negligible as far as the change to the non-conforming use that it does not rise to warrant any approval of that specific aspect of it. So for example, a deck in your ordinance is exempt from impervious coverage. It also does not contribute to building coverage. So it's almost like it isn't there. It does not create any additional living space, et cetera. It doesn't change the fact that there are 11 units on the site. It doesn't change bedrooms or occupancy, anything of those natures. It only provides 3 additional areas of open space, which I think would be fully within the board's purview as a site plan review. So if you wanted to make that decision and say, you know what, you're right, this isn't an expansion of a non-conforming use, and this board has already decided that adding parking to a use is not an expansion of a non-conforming use. So the parking is literally here just for the site plan and for the variance that's required for impervious coverage. So that's the distinction that you could make if you wished. The second thing we're seeking is I guess we're seeking 2C variances. One is for impervious coverage, where 65% is allowed, and we're proposing up to 83%.
47.5% exists today. And the last one is for open space. Multifamily units are required to have 30% of the lot area to be open space, which would be 3,465 square feet. And we're proposing about 1,650 square feet, which is about 14%. And the new decks are about 15% of that increase. So it's 1,650 square feet total that's proposed. We're proposing 225 square feet of decking. So that shows the increase there from about 1,400 square feet up to 1,650 square feet. So they're the two C variances that we're seeking, and then the rest of them are design waivers. From your design waiver ordinance, I think a lot of those we can start to comply with in terms of lighting, making sure the pole is the right height, making sure we don't spill off the property, getting our minimums and maximums balanced out. I think we can accomplish all of that very, very well. I'm going to proceed. So again, I don't know if Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you don't want to ask the board if they want to make that determination if the D2 is required or not, or if you'd like me to put the case in and they'll make the decision at the end. I'm up for it either way.
It's your application.
Okay, then I'm just going to go then. So the most important thing about the concept of an expansion of a non-conforming use, it does not rise to the level of a use variance. It is a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use. The premise that was set forth in Raspberry v. Kingwood, was set forth in Burbridge v. Mine Hill, is that a zone plan was drawn understanding that there's non-conforming uses in it, and therefore they're kind of expected and accounted for. And so when we're expanding that use, we only have to accommodate the expansion. That is the standard. How are we accommodating the expansion of that non-conforming use? So in this instance, the expansion of our non-conforming use is 225 square feet worth of decking, 3 first-level decks on the existing premises. They do not add building coverage. They do not add impervious coverage. They do add open space, which we are deficient on now, and we are improving that condition through this expansion. So again, I think we accommodate these decks extraordinarily well. I think that they don't exacerbate any existing nonconformities. They are in conforming locations in terms of their setback and their height and all those things. So again, I think that all of them are accommodated very, very well.
Isn't your parking lot eliminating open space?
It is eliminating green space. That is for
But
sure.
it is open space.
It is open space, yes.
So you're actually eliminating open space, not adding open space.
Well, we're doing both, actually. We're adding it.
Are you?
Yes, we're adding it in terms of the decks themselves, and we are eliminating.
By the size difference, you're really eliminating open space.
On overall square footage, yes.
Thank
Without
you.
question.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. So you're eliminating open space, not adding.
Correct.
But you said you were adding.
We are. We're adding open space by the decks. It's a net decrease.
It's a net elimination.
You use elimination, I'll use decrease. That's fine.
Okay, go on.
Understood. And again, that's where when we come down to the, I'll jump to the C2 variance. That's where we come down to the choice on the parking, because that's exactly what it is we're saying that we think this represents a better plan if it has 11 or 12 parking spaces on it than it is if it has an empty grass lawn there. We think.
Consider a compromise by having less spaces for parking?
I think we could. I think we would have the ability to look at how do we balance parking and open space, as we said, and again, this is one of those things that was unfair to Mr. Ladisi. We kind of realized.
To be clear, we're not being unfair to Mr. Ladisi.
No, you were not. We were unfair to Mr. Ladisi, not you. We kind of realized at the 11th hour our spaces are oversized. And they're oversized. I think I know where they're oversized, but they're oversized. So they can shrink. And every time we shrink them, that's adding open space back to the plan. So I think that by shrinking the spaces either down to the 9 by 18 with a 24-foot aisle, which would meet RSIS, or shrinking them down to the sizes that are permitted in your ordinance, which are a little smaller than that, potentially going to a 9 by 16 with a 2-foot overhang, again, to decrease that impervious coverage even more. I think that would give us the ability to increase open space adjacent, increase the landscape area adjacent to Bond Street, and increase the landscape area that is next to the Bond Street building, while also giving us the opportunity to add a walkway from the parking area to the Bond Street sidewalk that would then allow us to access the access points to the Bond Street building. The Bond Street building referring to page 3 of the site plan, the Bond Street building is accessed from the south side of the building off of the Bond Street sidewalk. So what I'm saying is if we shrunk this parking lot down, it would literally shrink in 4 dimensions. We could add that walkway out of the parking lot to get us to the sidewalk, utilize the sidewalk to then get us up onto the access for our Bond Street building.
And how does the handicap park?
So we did not propose a handicap parking space initially. The existing building, as is permitted by code, and the existing building has 11 COs. It went through full building code review. The existing building is not accessible. It's not accessible in any way. Accordingly, under RSIS, if for projects containing units required by the Uniform Construction Code's barrier-free subcode, you have to provide accessible parking. If the building is not accessible under the New Jersey barrier-free subcode, you are not required to provide ADA accessible parking. So we thought it was a better plan to just provide 12 parking spaces and not provide the ADA space because the buildings and the site itself is not accessible. You're almost advertising a false premise by having an accessible space there, that you can park here because this is an accessible site and accessible location.
So neither building is really handicap accessible?
Not at all.
Well, let's put a pin in that. Accessible doesn't just mean wheelchairs.
Correct.
Right.
I agree, but all of the elements of the barrier-free subcode that we would be addressing coming out of an accessible parking space are to provide for a wheelchair.
Again, I disagree.
In terms of the slopes and everything else. So again, I can feel my father smacking me up the back of the head. My father was an amputee. All right, he spent the last 9 years of his life with one leg. And there was no more defeated person than when he couldn't do something by himself because the site wasn't accessible or something wasn't there for an accessible person. So the last thing I would propose is not being accessible. But I think it's disingenuous to have a site and buildings that are not accessible in any way and are not going to be accessible in any way to be advertised as such. That said, we can locate, if we flip the ADA space from the west side of the parking lot to the east side of the parking lot against Bond Street, we can have a walkway that's there, have a walkway out to the sidewalk, and you get to the accessible Bond Street sidewalk from our parking lot. You wouldn't, now you could also do that going down the parking lot and getting to First Avenue. But the shortest route would be by this new walkway that we would propose from the southeast corner of the lot. We'd flip the ADA space from the southwest corner to southeast corner, have an accessible pathway here out to Bond Street, and then that complies with code. So that takes you all the way around. I think because the buildings are not accessible, we have the ability not to provide it. But if the board says no, I'd like an accessible space, and we'd say fine, and then we'll say fine. Well, that accessible space will be accessible back out to the Bond Street sidewalk, but the buildings are not being modified to become accessible.
Honestly, I don't know why we're going down this path. I really don't. If somebody can't live in the building, then why are we insisting on a parking space that is now going to be an empty space because once you designate it?
Again, it doesn't have to be a wheelchair user. They could have a mobility impairment where they could still go upstairs. They could have a heart condition. There's
more than just wheelchair disability.
the point is, it's reserved for someone with a disability.
That's fine.
And maybe somebody will live in the building or have a guest that needs that closer, more accessible space.
As I said, I can feel my father smacking me at the back of the head, so I'm not having this argument. We'll have an accessible space, we'll flip it from the southwest to the southeast, and we'll have the accessible path out to Bond Street, and that will comply.
So you talked about the decks, and you talked about how it's going to increase open space for the residents.
Yes.
But it's really just going to be those 3 residents.
Correct. How it's defined in your ordinance.
So you're not increasing open space for all of the, is it 11?
Correct.
11 residents. I'm assuming that these decks are going to be used for outside activities. How are you putting plantings around them to contain that noise, to contain that site?
No, the plantings will be around the site. Again, it's an 11,500 square foot site. We're not to have individual, there just isn't the space for that to occur. People have a cafe table with 2 chairs and, they'll sit out there whenever they want to sit out there.
The decks are increasing the square footage. So how do you get around that that's not an expansion?
Again, I don't believe that it's an expansion of the use. If the board wants to say it is, that's fine. And I don't get around it. The standard is, how do we accommodate it? And it is accommodated in terms of building coverage, impervious coverage, and in terms of, the site itself, circulation, and stormwater, everything. So that 225 square feet of decking is well accommodated in the site. It is internal to the site. It's not out against our neighbors. It's in against our parking lot. Again, it's a fully internalized improvement that is not going to have an impact on our neighbors. So that's the standard, is how is that expansion accommodated on the site?
Right. But so how are you accommodating that when your overall coverage is, what did you say, going to be 84% and the requirement is 60? How is that an accommodation?
The coverage is generated by the parking lot. It's not generated by the decks. Decks are not building or impervious coverage in your ordinance.
I'm still a little hung up on the concept that you're providing open space. While I appreciate the fact that you're providing off-street parking, which the site currently doesn't have, I get that. But you're eliminating so much open space to put a parking lot there in the front yard, which kind of makes me not thrilled because it's in the front yard of this property. And your neighbors are going to be looking at a parking lot. And I'm having a hard time with this application, honestly, because you're really eliminating open space, and it's green space, and it's space that all of the apartments and the Victorian can use currently. And you're going to put there a parking lot where nobody's going to want to sit in the parking lot. And you're going to allow 3 apartments have balconies, and the rest, well, they no longer get open space. So I'm really having a hard time with this, and your argument is really not well enough for me to change my opinion yet.
Okay. I'll wait to see how I do on your opinion when I finish, but understood. And I knew you would have difficulty with this application. No, and that's fine. Again, it's a choice. It is. I hate to say it's a black and white choice. It's more of a black and green choice, I guess, in this case. But it's, would you rather have 11 parking spaces, or would you rather have an empty lawn? And that's the choice. Now,
You said that you would consider a compromise though, so that's not the choice, based on what you said a few moments ago.
that's the application that we submitted. I have some latitude with my client. I don't have full latitude with my client. So any compromise that we come up with has to be good with him too. Again, I think by shrinking the parking lot dimensions, we're going to pick up a pretty good amount of space, a couple of 100 square feet. Did you do the math?
Well, in the length, it's 6 feet. It's 1 foot per parking space. You have 6 parking spaces, so it's 6 feet.
Right, so 6 feet times 62 feet wide is...
No, but in one dimension, you only get 6 feet.
You'll
It's only-
change the open space differential from 30% required by ordinance, 14% required with this plan, to approximately 20%, 19 to 20% provided by this plan. So there will still be about a 10% differential in the open space requirement.
Right.
Just by the dimensional changes. If there were other changes proposed, we can hear that.
Correct. So it's not insignificant. It's several hundred square feet that we could add to open space by getting the dimensions right. And I think we should do that. I think we should shrink the spaces as much as we can to increase our landscape island on Bond Street and get us more open space adjacent to the building on Bond Street. I think both of those two things are good. We have an exceptionally wide right-of-way on First, so it's a little less important go in that direction. Anything we gain, I'd put up against the buildings on Bond, because that's where it'd be a little more usable for our residents. But again, I think that's something we can certainly talk about, work with. So in terms of the C2 variances, we have our open space variance that, again, we're seeking to provide 1,650 square feet where 3,465 square feet is required, about 14%. And as Mr. Vakin just said, we think we can get that up closer to 19 or 20% with these dimensional changes. Impervious coverage would kind of shrink similarly. Again, about that same 4 or 5% to get it probably get it under the 80%, but not down to the 65%. And again, we think that adding off-street parking, and I understand Mr. Richards' comment that the neighborhood's been accommodating this since 1979. I understand that. But the neighborhood shouldn't necessarily have to accommodate it if they don't have to. I think being able to provide some on-site parking, and I think 1 per unit is great, is a good thing. It's a good thing for the applicant, and it's a good thing for the neighborhood. Kind of one of your classic win-wins. The design and location of the existing buildings does not lend itself to the additional open space beyond the decks provided and proposed. Again, we're kind of hard up against our western and southern boundaries. Again, but I think when we talk about how we modify the parking, we're going to add some. We think parking is more necessary and desirable for the neighborhood than added private space for our own residents. But again, that's something that the board is going to consider. The impervious coverage variance likewise goes directly to the benefit of having the parking. Fortunately, we manage it through the stormwater impact of the parking and have our soil erosion permit and county approval as evidence of compliance. Also, we will comply with the mounting analysis as required by ordinance. We think we can as we said, we think we can right-size the parking to reduce the coverage slightly, working with Mr. Vakin's office. In terms of the design exceptions for illumination, we're going to eliminate the overspill onto Bond Avenue, so we'll eliminate that waiver request. Our maximum height fixture, maximum height will be at a maximum of 14 feet, and if Mr. Ladisi can get it to work at 12 feet and light the parking lot sufficiently, we will do that. Our minimum level is a half-foot candle. The average is a foot candle, and we're not allowed to have a ratio of more than 4 to 1. Again, we'll work with that with Mr. Avakian's office and the 5 lights that are proposed to see how we work that balance. Again, the challenge, as Mr. Ladisi said, is getting to the middle of that parking lot. That's the challenge. So again, by not having any spillage onto Bond, maybe we can throw it towards our building a little bit more and get us the coverage in the middle of the lot that we need there. Off-street parking facilities should be located behind the front yard area. The size of a operable parking space in aisle really sets the dimensions. Really the 9 by 18 and the 24-foot aisle is kind of standard. Your ordinance permits us to go a little smaller than that. We're happy to do that if it, again, helps our coverage. The challenge is really when you start reducing the dimensions, particularly the aisle width at 24 feet. We're all used to driving and used to those dimensions. So when they start to shrink, we start to back into each other. So we try not to do that as much as we can. Again, this is someplace where we can get down as small as we can because it is our parking lot. These are going to be 11 residents. They're going to park there every day, and they're going to learn who parks behind what and who has the big car and who has the little car and how it's all going to work. So those dimensions are less important on a residential project, particularly a small residential project, than they are on a shopping center where you have all sorts of people coming in and out. So
they won't be assigned parking spaces?
They will be assigned.
They will be assigned?
They will be assigned, yes. So yeah, we'll know where everybody's parking every night. And again, the first question is going to be, is somebody going to have is someone going to need the ADA space? Second question will be regarding electric vehicle space, which goes hand in hand with the ADA
Donna,
space.
could you just quickly tell me, is that required to have the ADA? Is that an absolute requirement?
As I understand the barrier-free code, but I don't know all of the exemptions to that. I mean, Mr. Taquino testified that there's a provision that says if it's serving a building that's not accessible, you don't have to provide a space, but I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, and I would say when the plans get reviewed by the construction office, they're going to determine whether it's required or not as well. So, we could, depending on whether this is going to go to a vote tonight or if it's going to be carried or whatever, we either have time to review that or we can adjust any resolution. If there's an approval, we can adjust it so that it indicates that they shall comply with what's required.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And we can get that. It is the construction official actually is the ultimate arbiter, so we'll get you that answer. We're happy to do that. Again, we were seeking a waiver to be too big. We're no longer going to seek the waiver to be too big. We'll be the right size in accordance with the ordinance. We do need the waiver for the driveway located closer than 20 feet to the intersecting street. We're at about, 30 feet from the intersecting street. Again, to meet the dimensions of the parking, needing 18 feet on each side and 24 feet in the middle, you kind of end up where you end up. Again, we're only dealing with about 65 or 70 feet total, so we're kind of limited in terms of how we get there. We do believe that First Avenue is a better location for the entrance recognizing that it is a busier street. We think it's better for us to be on the busier street than to impact the people on Bond. That's a little quieter street. Also, because First Avenue is so wide, we are much, much further away from our neighbor across First Avenue than we would be from our neighbor across Bond Street. So again, we think it's better to have that activity on the busier street and have that impact fall to us as opposed to our neighbors on Bond. Again, they're just a little closer, given the narrowness of Bond. We are going to increase the area of that planting bed. I don't think we're going to get all the way to 5 feet, all the way around. We're at about 2.5 feet, and then we do reduce down to about a foot next to our western building. Again, we think that it's most important for us to have the landscaping on the Bond Street frontage, on the First Avenue frontage, much more than it is to have it against our own building. I think that Mr. Scully's suggestion of having the walkway adjacent to our Bond Street building, getting south to that, is a great suggestion. I'm a little miffed I didn't get that one myself. So we're going to follow that one. And then in terms of the design of the planting areas, we thought the dune grass and the dune fence was a thematic thing that Mr. Giglio had on there with his landscape team. We have no objection to Ms. Miller's suggestions for holly or inkberry or taxus, something that is evergreen, that we can maintain at 4.5 feet. If the board says, hey, we'd like it maintained at 5 feet or 6 feet, that's fine too. We think, the fence at 4, a compliant fence at 4, and then the landscaping a little bit taller than that is the right look. It's going to quote unquote you want to get above the hood level of the cars, hide the headlights. We think that's the right accommodation on the corner. We really don't want to wall it in with a 15-foot arborvitae, hedge. I think my client would do that to get the parking lot, but it's not the greatest look for a corner property. We think it's better to have a well-landscaped parking lot than it is to have a wall of hedge there, but we'll defer that to the board. The shade trees are provided at the right rate. We just, again, because of space considerations, we put them in the right-of-way on First Avenue. Again, the right-of-way on First Avenue is so wide that it makes more sense to put it in the middle of that bed where it's going to grow than to slam it up against our parking lot. Likewise, against Bond, we can do the same thing. I think we can pull it at least to straddle the property line. And if we have to put a diamond or something in there to make sure we make it fit, we're happy to do that. Again, trying not to disrupt the hedge. I think it's really what we're looking for there. And there are already shade trees along the street frontages in the parkway between the curb and the sidewalk. These are additional shade trees that are located on our side of the sidewalk, if you will. We're happy to make them fit in. The total landscape area of the parking lot has to be 10%. We're only at about 7%. I think by right sizing the parking lot, getting a walkway in and everything, we'll find that 115 square feet. So we're not going to seek that waiver either. And again, I think all the waivers that we're seeking are the standard for a waiver is that it is within the board's site plan purview, which all these are, that the request is reasonable, and that compliance is somewhat of a hardship due to the physical conditions. So by kind of splitting the difference on these shade trees, et cetera, that is a physical condition that is a hardship in terms of where they fit. Now again, we think having 11 spaces is the right size parking lot. If the board's going to tell us something else, then all the landscape issues kind of go away because you take away a parking space and all of a sudden all the dimensions work. So we're happy to work with you on that as well. So in terms of the variance relief, one of the things we need to talk about in terms of all of our variance relief are the special reasons, or how do you advance the purposes of zoning. I'd submit to you there are 3. G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of uses, in accordance with their environmental requirements to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. This is the right location to provide the needed decks on these multifamily units and to provide parking to serve these multifamily units. We are doing it by meeting all the environmental requirements. We already have our soil erosion permit. We already have our county approval. We do not require CAFR approval. You are literally the last stop in this train to get us to implementation. To promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. The parking and decks are well designed and they'll be attractive. They will finish the site off, if you will, on this prominent corner. We think additional landscaping at the right size and scale is certainly going to enhance that effect as well. Again, the site with that open lot, it looks like something's missing. And the first answer is the Montauk is missing, but the next thing that's missing from that site is some parking. So we think by providing it, we're going to kind of present a better finished product to that corner, and it'll be a better project overall. And then finally, M, to encourage the coordination of the various public and private procedures affecting land development with a view towards lessening the cost of that development and to the more efficient use of the land. There's a myriad of requirements to get to this point to provide the improvements to the site. Fortunately or unfortunately, in terms of how you deal with completeness, et cetera, we got them all done ahead of time. So we have our soil erosion permit, we have our county approval, CAFR exemption, all those things. So, there's a myriad of things. What they do by doing that is it provides the city some protection. That yes, the stormwater was looked at, we're not gonna have any soil impacts, et cetera. So all that was handled ahead of time. And then you have Peter Avakian, so I don't have to worry about how you deal with stormwater. There's nobody better in Monmouth County. And we think that improving the site on this unfinished corner is the most efficient way to do it. In terms of our C variances, again, we think it's a C2 variance where the benefits of granting the relief outweighs any detriments. We think the benefits of providing for 11 additional parking spaces here outweighs any detriment to the impervious coverage because we can accommodate stormwater management on site. We think providing for the 3 decks and increasing our open space using those decks is a good plan. We think by shrinking the parking lot a little bit and providing a little more open space, as the board has suggested, we think that only makes it a better plan. The existing development of the lot clearly drives a lot of the variance. The case Lang v. Caldwell comes into play. Lang v. Caldwell was a case up in North Caldwell, Caldwell Board of Adjustment, excuse me, where the court found that an applicant is entitled to improvements that are of normal size and shape for their utility. So, for example, we're entitled to have a parking lot that you can park a car in, that type of thing. So you wouldn't want to have a seriously deficient drive aisles or parking space size, et cetera. Again, I think that your ordinance actually gives us more flexibility even than RSIS does. So we will follow your ordinance and get it as small as we can to comply as best we can. And then finally, with everything, we need to provide for our negative criteria. Again, are we having a substantial negative impact on the public good? And are we having a substantial impairment to the zone plan and the master plan? Again, this is not a noxious use. It is a small multifamily residence that was part of a larger complex. Adding the parking will greatly reduce parking stress on the surrounding streets. We think adding those three balconies will increase the open space and enjoyment for our residents. In terms of, we think by having appropriate landscaping, having lighting that does not spill off the property, it is not too bright, that we're going to manage any potential negative impacts. We certainly can devise a landscape plan that is going to make it look the right way on that prominent corner. In terms of the land use policy, the city's 27 master plan reexamination report restates and expands upon the goals of its 2006 master plan. The following provide policies aimed at maintaining or enhancing the character of the city's neighborhoods. Planning goals to protect and enhance the quality and enjoyment of the city's residential neighborhoods through policy and regulations that promotes quality of life and minimizes negative impacts from the city's tourism, other economic development activities. Maintaining and enhancing the character of single-family neighborhoods with regulations that support and reinforce these uses, and housing objectives that protect and preserve established residential character through zoning enforcement, design guidelines, inspection of multifamily dwellings, and rehabilitation where necessary. In each instance, this was a property that existed for some time. It was in some level of disrepair. It has now been brought up to be a modern, attractive apartment building. By doing that, everything has been stabilized. It looks much more attractive than it did. We think by providing additional parking on that site with appropriate landscaping and buffering, appropriate lighting, we're going to have an improvement that's going to lessen the impact of that site on the overall neighborhood as compared to what's there today. Again, we think by providing the parking as right size as the board may find it, we think that's the best plan for finishing off that site. We think that, by providing the appropriate landscaping and not having an empty lot there, we think that is the best improvement for that spot in this neighborhood. The best two words you hear from a planner in closing, we believe the 3 decks are an insubstantial improvement, and if you find that they're not, that they are certainly well accommodated in any regard. They don't increase any variances in terms of coverage or any of those things, height, etc. They do help us increase the compliance with open space. And the parking is a desirable improvement to the site and to the neighborhood, and with the landscaping, we'll finish that corner off very well. It is a better plan with decks and parking spaces than one without. The waivers that we're requesting are reasonable and within the board's site plan review power, and compliance is somewhat impractical given the small nature of the site and the necessary size of the parking. So accordingly, I think the board has the ability to make the requisite findings. I'm available for your questions, and most importantly, I'm available to hear your concerns, because we want to make sure that we are addressing your concerns. I always have bringing up this case. It's called Pizzo-Mantine. It's a case from Somerset County that went back and forth to the courts about 5 times. And what the judge ultimately came down to is he said that the applicant is required to listen to the board because the board knows best. But the board is also required to tell the applicant what it wants and to express those concerns so the applicant doesn't have to guess. And I like this board because you tell me what you think. And you've given us some great suggestions, and we'd like to make sure that we follow those suggestions, and we make sure that we're providing an improvement that truly is an improvement to the property as well as an improvement to the neighborhood. And I know the board struggles. You struggle with improvement, particularly in single-family neighborhoods, and it's a challenge. But again, I think this is one where on par and on balance, I think we're better off with right-sized, right-designed parking with the decks than we would be without. And I'm anxious to hear your comments and questions and come up with solutions to those questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Tykina? Board professionals.
No questions.
No?
Only with regard to how the board feels they'd like to proceed. It's a difficult situation without seeing a plan drawing with improvements that have either been recommended or discussed.
I appreciate that, but we're not at that point, Mr. Avakian. So let us move to that area first and open it up to the public for Mr. Tykina. Does anybody in the public have any questions for Mr. Tykina's testimony? Strictly questions for his testimony.
My question is, how is your plan going to benefit the surrounding residents?
Predominantly by providing additional on-site parking that is going to reduce the on-street parking that is currently occurring surrounding our site, freeing up that parking for our neighbors, residents and guests. Additionally, I think having a finished site there with appropriate landscaping and lighting on that prominent corner is a much better plan for that corner than an empty grass field.
Does a parking lot and at that particular spot fit in with what this neighborhood is supposed to be?
Yes and no. Yes, it does in terms of the practical operations of a neighborhood. That neighborhood will function better with a parking lot there than it will with an empty lot. From a neighborhood standpoint, what wants to be there is another house. But that's, we're not going to have 12 units on the site, so, but that's what the site wants. The site wants a building there, but we're not going to get a building there, so the next best thing is a parking lot.
How are they parking now? Where are your residents parking now?
Off-site.
Off-site. Okay. Exactly where?
I don't know.
And what's the problem with that?
It's a good point. Again, I'm thinking that, there are, well, first of all, our residents are telling us we'd like parking, and we get that, we get that question every month with the rent check, is when's the parking lot coming? So we know our residents want the parking, so they're certainly somewhere. But again, I think from a neighborhood standpoint, particularly in a neighborhood that is more single, 2, 3, 4 family than multifamily, it's better. You're better off having on-site parking. It's not while it's close to Main Street, we're close to Cookman. It's certainly a walkable neighborhood. Residents still have cars, and those cars are accommodated. We think they're best accommodated on site, and that's,
Why should the residents be subjected to having to look at your parking lot because it accommodates you? Why should they have to give up aesthetics to look at asphalt? I don't find asphalt aesthetically pleasing. Why should they have to do that? Why should they have to do that? Question mark. That's a question. First grade.
Please he has the microphone. You have a chance to get up and speak after him.
This is your second time.
Is he done?
That's your question.
That was your question.
I'm very cognizant of not speaking over him.
I appreciate that.
So again, I don't think anyone finds asphalt attractive. I do think that people find, attractively landscape sites attractive. So I think we can strike a balance with a compliant fence, with the 4.5 or 5 foot hedge, evergreen hedge, the appropriate shade trees, and minimize, any perceived visual impact of a parking lot. Again, I think it's a balance, and hearing and reading about quote unquote the parking problems of Asbury Park on a weekly and monthly basis, I can't imagine that it's not a better plan having some parking on site. Now again, if we want to right size that and balance it with the open space, we're happy to do that. But again, that's part of you suggesting at what you think and us listening and being able to respond. But I think the aesthetics of it, we can manage. We can put a pretty hedge around it, have the right fence, have the right shade trees, have the right lighting, and there will be nothing untoward about it.
So one more question. How long have you been in control of this property? When did you finish the construction?
24?
In 24?
Late 24, early 25.
And your tenants have been parking there, and your units have been rented out without that parking lot. So what have you taken into consideration as far as the neighbors are concerned? Have you had any input from them other than myself?
No. We have designed the site as sensitively as we could. We thought locating the driveway on First had the least impact on our neighbors. And again, we're pretty sure there's 8, 9, 10, 11 people parking around the neighborhood now that I'm sure the people who have those 8, 9, or 10 people that are parking in front of their house right now would be very happy to have them not parking in front of their house right now. But again, that's our perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Anyone else in the public for Mr. Takina? Thank you.
Can I just get a follow-up?
Sure.
Please.
So you just alluded to 8, 9, 10. Do you happen to know how many of the current residents actually have cars?
No.
I suspect all of them. I'm the owner, but I don't know if I have to be sworn in. But,
You would to talk.
yeah, you would.
Yeah, but he's talking to his attorney right now.
Yeah, so we believe all of them.
We believe all.
But we don't know.
We don't know for certain. We can find that out as well, but we believe all of them. Let's put it this way. We believe all 11 or 12 spaces will be fully subscribed.
Will you charge extra rent for the parking spots?
Yes. Parking is not free.
So I guess
Do you want to have the owner
I-
ask him some questions, or?
sure. I think that might be helpful for us right now. Please.
Yeah,
Do you sworn in?
you do. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And if you can state your name and spell your name for the record, please?
Ron Rudolph, RUDOLPH.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight, everyone. It's a late night.
So I understand, Mr. Rudolph, you've owned this property for about a year.
No, I've owned the property probably about 6 years now.
6 years.
Took it over when it was initially an 11-apartment building. It was in a very run-down condition, in really problematic area of the neighborhood. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to revitalize this portion of the neighborhood and restore the building and the apartments. And that's what we've done. As far as landscape versus parking,
Was the Victorian always part of this other building that's on this site?
So I don't.
How did that come to be?
I think I handed out, but initially on the corner was the Montauk Hotel, which was a very large massing of building. I wish it was there. I would have restored it. The house next door was traditionally, I believe, the owner of the hotel, and the back building was overflow for the hotel. So these buildings surrounded what was the hotel facing on the Montauk Hotel on Bond and
Which
First
was
Avenue.
demolished at some point.
It was demolished, I think, about 20 or so years ago, but maybe year 2000-ish, by the owner that I purchased the property from.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of the history. So there was
And it's been a
initially
rental property ever since. Is that
It's always
correct?
been a rental property, and I took it over as a rental property. But it was in really a state of disrepair. And I think that we've really changed the aesthetic and improved the area of the neighborhood. As far as the open space, I'm personally quite conflicted with the open space because I like open space. We're getting regular requests from the tenants that they can't find parking and that they're parking very far away, and quite agitated about that, as most people get to be in Asbury Park because there is a parking issue. I'm not necessarily a proponent of parking lots, but in this particular instance, there is an 11-unit apartment building, and there's frequently nowhere for the people to park. They're parking blocks and blocks away, and this would really relieve, or in front of the neighbors, and this would relieve that condition, and that's really why we're here today. Additionally, the 3 decks that are on ground level would add a little bit of, I guess, a give back to some of the tenants to have a little bit of open space. There is another unit that does have an open space for them, but and then there's a side space on Bond Street that the other tenants have access to, like a little grassy open space area that we've have a little fence around and have landscaped and put irrigation system in. So I think that's been a really benefit, and I've seen people out there and they use it. So there is a open space, green space on Bond Street side that will continue to be that way. So I'm available to answer any questions that you have.
So just to clarify, when you took it over, those 2 buildings existed and there were already 11 apartments?
Everything exactly, the number of apartments, everything existed exactly the way it was. We just restored the property.
When you say you're gonna give back the deck open space to your tenants, does that mean?
The tenants, the apartments are small.
Sorry, if I could complete my question, that would be great. It's okay. You said you're gonna give back to the tenants that space. Does that mean that you're not gonna increase the rent on those particular units with the new decks?
No, I didn't intend to, no. It was really that, I thought it'd be a really nice thing for them to have a little bit of open space and accommodation for them. Right now, there's sliding doors with like a, you can see from the photo, like a railing across.
But you understand that's not for all your tenants, correct?
No, it's for 3. It's for 3.
And the other tenants will be looking at the parking lot, right?
Yeah, and the tenants have been like reaching out to the property management company on a regular about when is the parking going to happen, but when is this going to take place? We can't find parking. This is a big problem.
Were they told there's going to be parking?
We've said that they've asked, yeah. We've said that we're going to try to put a parking lot in here to accommodate for tenants. I mean, that would be the thing, and my understanding is that there is a pretty large parking problem in Asbury Park. So this, I thought, would be a bit of an accommodation to get 11, let's say ostensibly 11 cars off the streets.
How would you feel about a compromise?
In what sense?
In terms of number of spots versus open space?
What is in your thoughts?
I'm just wondering if you don't do a spot for every tenant, does that cause you a bigger headache than having a spot for every tenant?
I mean, if you lived in an apartment building, and how do you do that? Like, that's why we came up with that number. It's also as much as we could probably fit on the space.
Although if you have
is to provide one for each unit. How do you tell like one apartment you're not getting parking, or
if you have a handicap space and not a handicapped person, you might end up with that situation anyways. Correct?
Yeah, I kind of realized that this evening as well. That's going to be something we'll have to deal with. But it's better to, look, you guys will ultimately decide, but it's better to get 10 spaces off of the street and on-street parking as opposed to on the streets. That's my thought about it. And we're going to try to make it as beneficial and also, nice with landscaping and trees and bushes.
One of the things you may not realize, Mr. Rudolph, is our properties here in Asbury, we generally put the parking in the back of somebody's home. And we work painstakingly so that the garages are set back further, according to our ordinances. And we don't want the cars to appear in the front of people's homes. And this is contradictory to that whole concept for us.
Chris, I have to disagree with you on that. If you look at a lot of the apartment buildings, the parking areas are visible, they're on the sides. They're rarely in the back of those spaces, and we just don't have any more space. The old houses that exist that had room to have garages in the back is one thing, but it's just not generally available. We just heard an application there have a driveway at all, and most houses on that block on Pine lack space for driveways. So I think that a lot of the older, larger properties may have that characteristic, but I really disagree. It's not a fact. It's just not a fact.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Thank you, Donna.
No, but because we've been looking at the aerial tonight, and between like Asbury and 4th, between Grand and Main Street, the only parking lots that occur in front yards are with the churches. And the multifamilies are generally in the back. Some have some parking on the side, on the drive aisle going along the side of the building. But there aren't that many in this
I wasn't talking about that
neighborhood.
specific area, but I could talk about on Grand. There's the Asbury Grand, there's the building.
Right, but Grand Avenue is a
303
different
next
type
to
of
the Esplanade
neighborhood.
on
That's
Sunset.
what we're saying.
We're talking about
a single-family neighborhood.
This
Okay,
neighborhood.
but what we're talking about in this neighborhood is an extremely dense neighborhood where the parking is scarce.
If I may, there's an exact replica of what we're trying to accomplish just down the street on Bond Street. I think it's 507 Bond, is that the address? That's exactly the same. It's on the corner.
Which
and-
also required an expansion of non-conforming use variance to get 507 Bond. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Mr. Evelyn?
I mean, it's like, I think a block or two away.
All right, what about Bond and Summerfield? There's a parking lots in the front.
There
as well.
Many examples.
We're also supposed to look at this property by itself and not look at other applications. So
Well, then
if we could stick to this application.
Then let's not talk about where
I
parking is
appreciate
in the back of.
Part of this
people's
application
houses.
is to look at the neighborhood.
No, I was talking about the ordinance, Wendy. That's a difference. So I'm not sure where to go at this point, though. The board is a little bit conflicted.
We have to let it cross, so.
If I may.
May I ask, is there going to be time for public comment? I came here for this hearing.
There will be.
Yes, of course there will be time for public comment. Well, I don't know, we'll get that to tonight, though.
Well, that's what I came here for tonight, so we're going back and, can we have a little time for public comment, at least from what we heard?
It may not be done tonight.
If I may ask, if it's, I don't know if appropriate, what are your thoughts on the decks for the building?
So I think the decks, and your planner is a subject matter expert, I'm not, but I think the decks there's a case, I think it's Lehan, Atlantic Highlands or Highlands, that said that any expansion in the square footage is an enlargement and intensification of a non-conforming use, which this would be. So I don't know how you get around that. As far as the parking lot goes, there's been a lot of discussion here tonight about reducing it, adding I think the walkway. Me personally, I'm not speaking for the board, I would like to see that. I think it would be helpful for me to make a decision on this. And without that, I'm just relying on the conversation that we've had in the discussion.
I think I would agree with what my colleague said. It would be helpful somewhat, but we're not certain of where you're going to take this yet, so.
Okay. Could you clarify me your position on the decks versus the parking? So maybe I'm trying to, they're kind of two topics.
So my position on the decks is that based on that case, and again, your planner is more the subject matter expert, I believe the holding in that case was that the applicant was increasing the square footage of a non-conforming use, and the court said that was an enlargement and an intensification, and therefore not proper. And the board struck it down, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
So I think what the answer is that the application does require a D2 variance.
Isn't that what we're asking for?
That is what you're asking for?
Yes.
Yeah. So what Mr. Tykina indicated was perhaps you can look at this as a de minimis expansion that doesn't rise to the level of a D2 variance. What Mr. Scully is saying is, in his opinion, it does rise to the level of D2 variance. And the distinguishing thing there is you would need 5 affirmative yes votes in order to get an approval for that. If the board decided that it was not a D2 variance, then we're only dealing with C variances, and you would need a simple majority of whoever's sitting on the board at the time of a deliberation. So that's the real difference. I think that's what, Mr. Scully, that's what you're saying, is that,
Again,
in your opinion, it's a D2 variance, not just simply a C.
You said it more articulately.
Okay.
So thank you.
Sure.
But are you looking to gauge the board's feeling about whether they prefer the decks?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a different question.
But
So-
maybe that's maybe something you prefer the decks,
Yeah.
and we landscape the rest, and you don't want parking off-street parking. I'm not here with, I'm trying to do what's best for the community, and what I ostensibly maybe misunderstood or thought, that there was a real parking problem in Asbury Park, and that I thought I was going to come here and be applauded by trying to create off-street parking. Not to be humorous or funny about it, but I thought that that's kind of how it was going to go down, where it'd be like, wow, this is a really great opportunity to do so. You're not increasing the density, you're actually pulling cars off the street. Thank you.
Well, I think
and instead, this is kind of a different, outcome. So,
we understand you're thinking of your particular property, Mr. Rudolph. We're thinking of the entire neighborhood.
same. Yeah, I think that the neighbors have probably been impacted by the fact that you have 11 apartments and they're parking on the street, where there's a lot of homes that don't have driveways and they don't have garages, and they're parking on the street as well. And the tenants, from the notes and letters that we have gotten, have really been complaining about not being able to find parking and it being an issue in the neighborhood.
So I think what I'm hearing from the board is that there's a start here, there's a start in the discussion that you've had this evening, and there's probably more that you have to look at of what you can do to mitigate some of the impacts on the neighbors with the discussion, as well as accommodate what you're proposing to do on your property. The board really can't tell you what that is. Is it 12 spaces? Is it 8 spaces? We really can't tell you that. But I think you have to look at the plan, the overall plan, and take a look at what's going to mitigate some of the concerns that's brought up by the neighbors, some of the concerns brought up by the board, as well as some of the concerns that is associated specifically with your property. But I don't think the board's at a position right now with the plan that's in front of them and this discussion to just say, okay, we're going to accept this, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. The board really needs to see what that X, Y, and Z is as far as modifying the site.
Yeah, it would be helpful to give some insight or some comments as to what would be acceptable.
I think what the board is saying, some of the board members at least are saying, is they need to see some more green space on the property. How much, it's hard for us to say.
And the planner testified that he felt that much of the relief that's required for the parking lot could be eliminated.
Right,
by
a number of
redesign.
waivers could be eliminated.
I don't know if that's really the case. You may still need one or two, or, maybe not as extensive. But we don't know that until we see it.
Okay.
So at least that's direction.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and certainly by reducing the size of the spaces, you're going to make some more green space.
Yes.
To the extent of what you're going to be able to do to assist with the neighbors and the landscaping to protect them from headlights and noise and things like that. We can't give you that. We can give you the advice to move in that direction. How far, we can't really give you.
Well, we'll go as far as necessary because I think that's really important. Being part of the community and part of the neighborhood and understanding the neighbors' concerns is important. So whatever greenery, whatever trees we can put in to mitigate that, I have no issue with that. And I think that the decks really add a lot to the tenants' ability to enjoy their space as well and have a little bit of outside space that's raised on ground level. So I appreciate your time.
So with that, Mr. Seymour, is it the plan to carry this application?
The point is to carry this application.
So here's my problem with that.
Can we get to ask you a question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I'll open it up for Mr. Rudolph's testimony.
Dan Shonameo, 615 Asbury Avenue. I'm not in this project. I live on the northeast corner of Asbury and Bond Street. I'm also a member of the planning board. Isn't it true, sir, that you took a dilapidated property that was drug infested and you did a wonderful job of improving it and improving the corner of First Avenue and Bond Street?
I appreciate that. Also, I've never met him before, but yes, it was, when I said that it was pretty much a derelict building.
And isn't it also true, I would probably go home tonight and not be able to park on that block? That parking is incredibly bad on Bond Street between First and Asbury, that we have the fire department parking there, that we have people coming from Monroe Towers and parking there.
You're not asking a question.
I am asking it because he's talking about parking. Isn't parking extremely limited? And that block is filled up every night. In fact, isn't it true that there will be at least 3 to 6 work vans parked there at night, overnight on Bond Street between that?
It's a very congested area.
And isn't it true that providing parking for your tenants will alleviate very crowded parking on that street?
I think that's a very true point, and quite frankly, financially, this is not a great decision for me.
Isn't it also true?
Just be really frank about it. Like, I would probably have to take 15 years if we charged anything for rent, for parking, to recoup how much it's going to cost for the actual parking and what we're...
We appreciate the costs that are involved with that, Mr. Rudolph, but that's not what we consider here.
No, I understand that.
And it isn't also...
This is not like this is not a financial decision.
Can I finish my question,
It's actually a negative financial decision.
Isn't it also true that it's impossible because of the site configuration, that basically the 2 buildings that exist on the site now are L-shaped?
Yes.
And so the corner, which fronts on Bond, which is the corner of Bond and First, that's the empty lot. You cannot put parking in back of your buildings. Isn't that true? Isn't that a configuration of the site that you have to consider?
That's correct.
That is the only place that you could put parking on the site.
That would be the only place.
All right, thank you.
Please.
I have one question to ask you.
Yes.
Well, first I want to preface it by saying yes, your buildings are nice. Yes, they do add to the neighborhood. Because I've been there, like I said, and maybe I was 29 or something like that, I don't know, when I bought that property. However, the issue here is that a parking lot on that corner, you know, is an eyesore unless you work miracles. It's an eyesore. And I know the person across the street, you know, their bushes are so high, so they may not even know what's, but anyway, it has an impact on me directly, you know, because I'm right there on the corner. It's not a mansion.
Mr. Richard, you're commenting.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Please
I'm
ask
sorry.
the question.
Yeah, so the question that I have is, would you be happy with someone putting a parking lot in front or in the side of your house, wherever, however it's located? Would you be happy with that?
You know, there's pluses and minuses to that, and you ask a really hard question. And quite frankly, I'm torn with that type of question. But the reality is that there is nowhere for the people to park, and Asbury Park in general, and that particular area is very congested. And the tenants.
My question to you is, would you be happy with something like that going on?
I think it's a plus and minus. Yeah.
That's what I expected you to say.
No, I don't think that's what, you know, I live in an area.
Wherever you live, you would be happy. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else for Mr. Rudolph? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rudolph.
Thank you.
I think we were at the point of deciding to carry, correct?
That's the question of Mr. Seymour and his client.
Okay.
Yes, we would like to.
So the next meeting date is
July 14th.
July 14th.
Bastille Day.
Do you know what you have on the
Perfect.
calendar that night?
Nothing.
Nothing right now.
Okay.
In fact, there's nothing the rest of the year.
And how long do you both need to review any updated plans?
Well, so that's up to the board.
That's,
If
I
they
think,
want to see a
3
revised
weeks, isn't
report,
it? I forget. If
We
there's
usually
changes
do.
in plans, it was,
If you want us to write a report identifying the
well,
changes.
I imagine there's going to be something that's going to change, right? So
If they make a big change.
I would expect new reports.
Okay. So with planning board, that's 5 weeks. I don't think we established anything for zoning board in that instance.
I think we're at 3, aren't we, Donna? Or is that incorrect?
That's for a standard new application submission.
Okay.
So if we want to do 3.
We're looking at the end of July.
7/28, does that work in your schedules? That's
But we would have to have
the
revised
fourth
plans.
Tuesday, and you would need plans by the 7th. Right? 21 days?
Does that give you enough time, Mr. Seymour?
So we have to have the reports in by the 20th. So the 7th, yeah. 7th would be the latest.
When is it? 29th?
I'm sorry, you said.
The 28th is the fourth Tuesday,
But you said the plans have to be in by the 7th.
the 7th.
We can look to August if you want to give yourselves more time.
I'd rather do it this year.
I mean,
August is not that far.
I'm sorry. August
Time
11th.
flies when you're
It's a
having
meeting,
fun.
August 11th.
August 11th, which would mean then.
August 11th?
Yeah, the checks should be.
The checks.
July.
uh,
That's not here.
August 11th. When's the date by July?
21st.
Can we not do this on July 28th? I mean, August 28th? Like, what's the issue with that?
Well, I think the question is.
We only have one meeting in August. It's on the 11th.
Did you mean July?
Yeah. Is that not
That
feasible?
gives us 2 weeks to get plans updated
Yes.
on a file that wasn't ours.
Okay. I don't know if that can be.
In August?
Yeah, I think I already am like somewhere else on this. 2 weeks is not enough time, Pat, in your opinion?
I'd be very tight, I'd rather be safe.
Okay. Okay, whatever. I don't see how this is getting done this year.
So I don't mean to be funny, but even if we had approved it tonight,
Yeah.
you still have to go through resolution compliance.
That's why I'm saying it's, you know, like.
You're not making it by the end of the year anyway. The process of conforming the plans to the resolution and then developing construction plans for a permit, you would really be hard to achieve a completion and getting a permit by December. Welcome to the process, sorry.
Okay. Can we try to do it in 2 weeks? Is that?
We can put you on the calendar for July 28th, and if
And
we
we
can't
can.
make the dates, then.
If you can't make the dates, we can carry you, so there's no further notice, you know, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, let's see if we
So-
can get it done and figure that out. If not, maybe we scrap the parking and we put 3 decks on the building and make it landscaped.
And yeah, that's your
It's-
prerogative
You know what I'm saying? Like,
to amend.
maybe that's what we do and keep it simple.
Yeah. Okay. So the next meeting is going to be, right now, July 28th. There will be no further notice. The meeting will be here and it starts at 7 PM. Okay?
I mean, I just want to say that I'm very interested in seeing a revised parking plan that speaks to what your planner testified to potential.
I mean, I'm kind of discouraged, quite frankly.
So am I. No, I agree.
Well, I would applaud you for
I'm
considering
extremely
parking
discouraged
for the
because, like,
neighborhood,
Asbury
if that
Park is
helps.
such a huge parking problem, and instead of like saying, hey, this is a great idea, this has been met with a lot of resistance.
So some of us would really like to see just, a revised parking plan, really. I think that everything that we've discussed tonight with the planner makes it attractive. So I think it's worth a presentation. I do.
Okay. I appreciate that. Because like, this is gonna go back and be quite
Yeah, don't scrap
financially
it.
unfavorable to do this. If we're gonna be just, if you're just not want it, just say, I don't want it. But if, you're open to it, then that's great. I'm willing to do it. Like I said, this is not a positive financial outcome from my standpoint. I'm doing this because the tenants are saying we can't find parking.
I can only speak myself, not for the board, but I'm very interested in seeing a revised parking plan. That would be my priority of interest versus a deck.
Well, I can say that the decks are really important to the tenants for having outside space, and I want that. To me, I think that's a priority.
Cool, I told you what mine was.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to carry 700 First Avenue to July 28th, 2026 without further notice.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.